So today I want to talk about the lies of being booked out. And I always found it so interesting why being quote unquote booked out is some sort of like weird industry symbol that you made it. You get to go online and say, I am booked out. I'm done. I have succeeded. I have climbed the mountain, given my crown. It's such an odd thing to me because many of my coaching clients who are VAs, OBMs, done for you service pros, they are booked out, and yet their business is not at an income level where they want it to be, and they don't have any more space to take on more clients. They also have trouble taking time off without being really stressed out because they have to do so much work. Any additional dollar amount of money that they are earning requires more time. They also talk about how there are like opportunities that come up that they would love to do, but they just have no capacity to do them. They've even done things like most of them have raised their rates, but yet they still have this like income gap and they don't understand why. And the ones who haven't raised their rates is because they feel like they can't do it. Like what they're doing does not support the amount of money that they want to charge. And they also feel really guilty admitting that they're not happy because this was the thing that they were supposed to want to have. This is the thing that everybody wants, right? And then the thing that I personally don't or can appreciate and that really affects them is that they don't have time to work on their business. They can't do any self-development. There's no time to grow. There's no space for that because they're so consumed by client work. And it's just really interesting, right? Because again, like being booked out is the thing. That's the thing that you're supposed to want. And a lot of people go, and they aim for this, more clients, because that's what happens when they're like, okay, I'm not earning what I want to earn. So the default response is, oh, I need another client, right? And obviously that makes perfect sense. It's logical, right? Like more money equals, or more clients equals more money. And the thing is, and that I invite you to really sit with and think about and consider, is that it's actually the wrong focus, because the root cause, the primary underlying issue has nothing to do with a lack of clients. I know you think that, yeah, this lady is telling me this because she doesn't know my situation, but hear me out. I guarantee you that I'm going to shift your perspective a little bit by the end of this. More clients is not the answer when you are not meeting your income goals. It's that the reason this is happening is that you've built a business, or you're building a business that only grows. The only way to grow is by adding more and more clients to your workload, adding more and more time. And that's the thing that we don't want to do. So I want to challenge 4 ideas that most done-for-you service providers have been taught today in this episode. And I'm going to also share with you another way to do it that is so much simpler and that doesn't have the issues that I'm going to talk about of being capped like this. So the first one that you have been taught is why being booked out is industry gold star, right? So early on, yes, it is a fantastic milestone because now you're like, oh, people want to work with me. They like what I do. I'm helping them. You know that you can do discovery calls. You know that you can attract clients. You know that you can close clients. You know that you have built trust with them. And that's an amazing thing to celebrate. And it changes over time because your business now evolves and develops over time. Because once you are booked out, once you are full, you don't have anywhere to go in order to grow your business unless something changes. So some people are fine with this and great. If you're like, listen, this is all I want to do, like I'm super happy, then amazing. Like get booked out, do your hourly retainers, like do your thing and fabulous. But if you're like, oh, like I feel like I'm being called towards something more, I feel like, ooh, I would love to kind of explore this or do that, or like I would like to work a little bit less and, you know, not get penalized by the fact that now I can work a lot faster, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the thing, is that you can be at capacity, right? And capacity, all it means is that you have a full calendar. But growth means that your business, what you do, can produce more value, more income, more impact without adding more hours. And that's a different goal. So the goal when you get to a certain point in business is not to be at capacity. It's to be able to grow more. Because being fully booked proves that people want to work with you. It doesn't prove that you've built a business that can grow. And that's a really, really important distinction. So that's the first thing that my done for you service providers are taught. That is just not correct. The second one is about taking on more clients. So what do you do then, right? So like, okay, you're fully booked out, which happens a lot, but you're still not meeting your income goals. And that's where a lot of people who work with me tell me that they're at. A lot of my VAs, OBMs, done for you service pros. Because a lot of times when income plateaus, and like you're not talking about, clients and hours and whatnot, it's just income. It's just like, okay, I'm not making any more money. My income has plateaued. I still want to earn more. What's the generic advice that you get? It's okay, like get more clients, network more, market more, post more, get more discovery calls, et cetera, et cetera. But what do you do when you don't have the time or the energy to give to those things? And that where you can't even take on another client, or let's say you do have space to, like you have some time to take on a new client. But when you do that, everything else compounds, right? Because it's another inbox, it's another communication style, it's another onboarding experience, it's another different set of expectations, it's another relationship to management. It's more context switching. And there are so many costs to that. Your productivity goes down because you are juggling so many things. It's like there's costs to that are more than just straight up time, because now everything you do requires a lot more thought. And you start dropping balls, you have to be more intentional about what you're doing. You have to use so much more of your energy when you're juggling so much. So what if I told you that the goal is not just to collect more client relationships like you're collecting Pokemon cards, but the goal is actually to make each relationship you have more valuable. And I'll get to how in a little bit, but keep that in mind. The goal is not more clients, more relationships. The goal is to make each one more valuable. And so the third thing. So let's talk about raising your rates. So let's say that you're like, okay, I will raise my rates. But if your offer is still, these are the 27 different things, the different tasks that I do, charging more might feel really unaligned. It might feel like, because there is a ceiling, right? Whether we like it or not, there is a ceiling to done for you work when you're just looking at tasks. There's a rate at which most people are not going to pay beyond. And it's also really interesting because let's say, okay, you can raise your rates to a certain point, but let's say you say, okay, I'll go from VA to OBM. In my case, that's what I did, right? And so I got to charge more. It felt significant at the time, but in the end, it wasn't that much more money per month, which is really odd to say. It didn't make like a life-changing difference, but I still hit an income ceiling, right? And now I could only work with like 3 clients instead of like 10 clients or whatever I was doing as a VA, with more responsibility, with more pressure, and with less freedom and eventual burnout, which I'll talk about in a second. So raising your rates and still doing hourly work is not necessarily the shift, right? It's not necessarily like, okay, let me do all of these things, let me raise my rates. It still results at the end, you still have the same problem. So what if instead the shift is not from a lower price to a higher price, but from selling tasks to solving bigger problems and focusing on transformation? So transformation, solving problems over just selling tasks and hours. Keep this in mind. And the last part. So I mentioned burnout a second ago, and there's a lot of misconceptions about burnout. The advice that you hear all the time to combat this, to not experience burnout, is to have better boundaries, is to have a morning routine, is to meditate more, is to block your time better. And these things are not bad things to do, right? They're all good things to do, but it's not the full story. Because number one is that burnout, yes, it comes from doing too much. It also comes from doing too much of things that you don't like to do. And number two, and more importantly, if your business at its heart and soul is dependent on you being constantly available, of you saying yes to everything, of you working more in order to earn more, There's no amount of time blocking that's going to solve that. There's nothing that you can do because you can't give yourself more hours of the day, right? You're just busy, 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 going. So if your business only works because you're constantly available, that's not something that time management can solve. It's something where your business needs to be redesigned. It needs to be reimagined because that's going to lead to burnout, and we don't want that. So what do we do instead? So instead of asking and having this main question be, how do I get another client? How do I get another client? And having that be the focus, a better question is, how do I create more value from the clients who already trust me? And how do I provide that value in a more strategic way that does not eat up so much of my time? Because when you're able to work with clients longer term, it's really cool because you've already built trust. You already understand their business. You've already seen where there's other opportunities, and you get to create deeper partnerships that are longer lasting. And you get to do this in a way where you're not just trading hours for dollars or for euros or whatever the currency, but you are doing it in a strategic way. So for instance, and I'll give you an example. So there's a couple of different ways to work with clients, right? So in what I teach in expansion in my one-on-one coaching, you build up your retainer offer in a way that is not hourly based. That is, so you have your retainer clients, and then we have a core offer. And it can be whatever you want it to be. But so this is an offer that has a framework, that has a process. In addition to that, we also have a trust building offer on the front end to build up trust, a smaller thing, so that clients get a taste of how you work. They say, okay, I trust you. And then they can move into the retainer or the core offer. And then from there, they can move into, let's say, after the core offer is kind of complete, there's a maintenance that happens. And so something that they can do at a lower cost, but they're ongoing. And so it doesn't take up much of your time. You're still with them, and you can build that up. So you have your retainer clients, you have your core offer clients, you have your maintenance clients, you have your trust builders that go into all of these things. And you see how you don't need 7 million clients. And by the way, I didn't talk about this explicitly, but none of this is hourly based. You can set these up, any of them, no matter what you do, strategically. So that way you're not the one who has to do all of the hours. We can price it in a way that's for transformation and not for hours. So I invite you to think about your own business and what I have shared in this episode, and really think about, okay, would another client solve my income problems? The answer is, on the surface, maybe, but if you dive deeper, probably not. Because another client would just simply fill the last remaining space in your calendar. And you don't need that spot filled. You don't actually need another client. What you need is a business structure where what you earn is not tied to how many hours you work, where you can keep working with clients that you love, even if it's not the straight up hourly retainer offer, and one where you're creating transformations and not just doing random tasks. So I really invite you to think about your business a little bit differently and to evaluate the advice that people are giving you online. And if you have found this interesting, you will want to be on my email list, because I write about these kinds of things all the time in my emails. I am not giving you like random productivity hacks or like trendy marketing tactics, but I am talking about the patterns that I see after so many years of, one, being a VA and OBM, and two, working with VAs and OBMs. I'm talking about the assumptions that are keeping you back. I am talking about the shifts that help you build businesses that support the life that you want and the reason that you started to do this in the first place. So if that is of interest to you, I invite you to join. I love my email list, and you can join through a link in the show notes. And that is all for today. And I'm so excited to see you guys on the next episode. That's a wrap on today's episode, and thank you so much for listening. If anything we talked about today made you think, okay, but what does this actually look like in my business? That's exactly what a free business audit is for. In just 45 minutes, I'll help you identify your unstructured expertise, pinpoint what's keeping you capped, and map out what your signature method could look like. There's a link in the show notes to grab your spot, and I will see you in the next episode.